Ladies and gentlemen, if I want to become a millionaire in 2026, I would not begin by chasing numbers in a bank account. I'd begin here by turning my mind from a restless beggar into a calm master. Because if you cannot master your thoughts, you will never master money. Most people will not tell you this. They'll sell you quick fixes, shallow hacks, and illusions of passive riches. But true wealth is never an accident. It is the fruit of a deliberate mind that learns to live above excuses, above fleeting desires, above the world's distractions. Because once a thing becomes too easy, it takes on subtuger. Stay with me until the end of this talk, because what I'm about to share is not just information, but an invitation. An invitation to tear away the habits and beliefs that have kept you small and broke. An invitation to build a mind and a life that money feels compelled to enter. Miss a step, and you risk wasting another year wondering why others rise while you remain the same. If I want to become a millionaire in 2026, here's what I'd do. First, I'd redefine wealth completely. I'd stop seeing money as paper and start seeing it as energy. Energy that flows where it is welcomed by discipline, service, and clarity. If you chase it blindly, it runs away. But if you build a mind and life worth rewarding, it arrives, quietly but surely. Second, I'd unplug from the noise. I'd turn off the screens that scream envy and urgency. I'd silence the constant buzz that tells me who I should be, what I should wear, what I should fear missing out on. In that silence, I'd find my deepest focus. I'd trade gossip for growth, distractions for deep work. Third, I'd build small, unbreakable habits, tiny actions, repeated daily, that compound like hidden rivers beneath the soil. I'd master my mornings, guard my nights, feed my mind with truths instead of trash. The habit is the seed. The million is the harvest. Fourth, I'd look for pain. Yes, pain. Because people pay for solutions to pain. I'd ask, whose life can I make easier? Whose burden can I lift? Money flows to those who solve real problems, not those who merely wish for more of it. I'd become obsessed with serving better, faster, more honestly than the next person. Fifth, I'd multiply and protect what I earn. I'd learn the art of turning $1 into many. I'd invest in skills, assets, relationships that pay me long after I rest. And I'd guard my wealth from leaks, pointless pleasures, ego traps, and all the tiny holes that drain fortunes before they can grow. Above all, I'd become someone who no longer fits inside my old excuses. The person who reaches 2026 a millionaire is not the same person listening to this now. That person is forged in the moments you want to quit, in the hours you wake up early while others sleep, in the choices you make when no one is watching. When the million comes, and it will, it won't be the money that changes you. It will be the unrecognizable strength you find within, the freedom to think, to move, to build your life on your own terms. Stay until the end. Re-watch this when your faith falters. And remember, money is just a mirror. If you wish to see it multiply, change what it reflects. Change you. To redefine wealth at its core is to challenge every lie you have fed about money. Most people think wealth is a matter of luck or inheritance, or that it comes to those who hustle without rest until they collapse. But the reality is far more subtle and far more empowering. Wealth is not merely what you hold in your hands. It is how you hold your mind. It is the dance between what you desire and what you dare to do for it. It is the quiet confidence that value flows to those who understand how to create it and how to hold it without fear. If I truly wanted to become a millionaire in 2026, I would begin not with frantic ambition, but with calm awareness. I would watch how my thoughts circle around lack, how they whisper stories of not enough, how they compare my journey to another's highlight reel. I would catch these thoughts, not with anger, but with curiosity. Where did they come from? Who planted these seeds of scarcity in my mind? Parents? Teachers? The culture that praises the wealthy yet trains you to worship the paycheck and fear risk? I would sit with these questions longer than I sit with spreadsheets, because no amount of budgeting can outdo a mind convinced it is unworthy of abundance. Redefining wealth is seeing money not as static numbers, but as living energy. Money moves. It does not stay with the fearful, the resentful, or the self-destructive. It gravitates toward trust, toward service, toward clarity. If you hoard it with trembling hands, it slips through your fingers, spent on fleeting pleasures that numb your anxiety for a day, but rob your future of power. If you treat money as a seed, you plant it carefully in knowledge, in tools, in ventures that multiply your freedom and your choices. Most people chase wealth like prey. They wake up every morning burdened by the hunt. They hate their alarm clock, hate their commute, hate their work, but love the fantasy of escape. But the mind that truly becomes wealthy does not chase. It attracts. It becomes so valuable that money has no choice but to arrive. This does not mean you do nothing. It means every action comes from a place of inner authority, not desperation. To redefine wealth is to redefine what it means to be rich. You must ask yourself, rich in what? Rich in time, or so poor that you buy convenience because you have none left? Rich in freedom, or so shackled by payments and image that your possessions own you? Rich in relationships, in ideas, in purpose, or rich in empty trophies that grow dusty while you grow bitter? A millionaire who hates waking up is bankrupt in the ways that matter. I would look at the way I spend my days. Do I exchange my life for things I don't need, for people who don't see me, for pleasures that don't last? Or do I invest my time like I would invest a fortune, carefully, consciously, with eyes wide open to the returns? The wealthiest people guard their time with more ferocity than their dollars because they know money lost can be found again. Time lost is gone forever. When you understand this, you see that wealth is not an endpoint, but a mirror. It reflects the relationship you have with your thoughts, your habits, your fears. To become wealthy, you must become trustworthy to yourself. Can you keep a promise to wake early, to read when you'd rather scroll, to say no when impulse says yes? Can you build a day so well lived that it naturally compounds into a month, a year, a life worth more than $1 million? True wealth is mastery over your own mind. It is the power to see an opportunity where others see risk. It is the calm to act when others panic. It is the wisdom to know that the game was never about money. It was about who you become to earn it, keep it, and use it well. If I want to be a millionaire in 2026, I start here. I dismantle the illusions. I stop worshipping numbers and start observing my patterns. I redefine wealth not as something I chase, but as something I grow, moment by moment, choice by choice. Because when your mind is right, the money follows. It always does. Not overnight, not by magic, but by the quiet law that value flows to those who embody it. This is not theory, this is the hidden truth. Redefine wealth, and you redefine your destiny. Fail to do this, and you might hold $1 million for a moment, only to watch it slip away like water through open hands. But master the source within you, and you will never be poor again, no matter what the balance sheet says. To detach from the noise is to reclaim the rarest currency you will ever possess, your focus. If you want to become a millionaire in 2026, understand this. Wealth does not come to the distracted mind. It does not settle in the lap of someone who chases every shiny object, every empty notification, every shallow dopamine hit that modern life throws at you like scraps to a begging dog. The world is designed to steal your attention because attention is profitable. Entire empires are built on keeping you scrolling, clicking, reacting, comparing. And in this endless swirl of noise, your deepest ideas are suffocated before they can breathe. If I want to become a millionaire, I must become ruthless about my mental environment. I would start by turning off the endless stream of manufactured urgency. The world screams for your eyes, but your soul whispers for your silence. In silence, you begin to see clearly what you really want, what you really fear, and what you must do next. But you cannot hear these truths above the roar of trends and opinions. I would notice how the noise creeps in, how the phone sits by the bed, demanding my first and last thoughts of the day, how I reach for it in moments of boredom, anxiety, doubt, anything, to avoid sitting with my own mind. How many precious ideas have died in those stolen seconds, buried beneath the mindless flick of a finger? If I want to build wealth, I must protect my mind from this constant invasion. The noise is not just digital. It lives in people, too. Voices that drag you into gossip, fear, shallow drama that keeps you small. Every time you discuss someone else's life instead of building your own, you pay in wasted minutes. And enough wasted minutes become wasted years. So I would choose my circle with the same precision I'd choose my investments. Are these voices pushing me forward or pulling me back into mediocrity? Do they feed my ambition or feed my excuses? Silence is not emptiness. It is space. Space for real thought, deep work, new connections. Detaching from the noise does not mean isolating yourself from the world. It means creating boundaries so you can engage with the world on your own terms. It means becoming unreachable to distractions and hyper-available to your mission. In this quiet, you begin to notice what you were blind to. You see opportunities that others scroll past. You see patterns in markets, gaps in systems, whispers of problems you could solve that no one else sees because they are too busy being entertained. Detachment sharpens your senses. It reveals where your energy leaks into worry, envy, endless comparison. You realize how much wealth has been lost, not through bad luck, but through fractured focus. To detach from the noise is to regain your power to choose your thoughts. Most people think their thoughts are their own. They are not. They are planted by headlines, by algorithms, by the curated illusions of other people's highlight reels. If you are not careful, you spend your life living inside someone else's dream, while your own gathers dust in the back of your mind. I would unplug daily. I would carve out sacred spaces where no notification can reach me. Mornings before the world wakes up would become my temple of clarity. I would sit with pen and paper, not to be productive, but to listen to what stirs beneath my conditioned noise. I would trade 100 shallow connections for a few real ones. I would let my mind grow bored again, because boredom is not the enemy. Distraction is. Boredom is the fertile soil where real ideas take root. When you detach from the noise, you also detach from the illusions that drain your money before you even earn it. The noise tells you to buy what you don't need, to impress people who don't care, to chase lifestyles that hollow you out while filling someone else's pockets. Quiet reveals how easily you sell your future for momentary pleasure. In silence, you ask better questions. Do I really need this? What would happen if I waited? How else could this money serve me tomorrow instead of feeding my vanity today? The millionaire of 2026 will not be the loudest in the room. They will be the calm observer who sees what others miss. They will not be addicted to constant updates. They will be addicted to results. They will work while others argue. They will study while others gossip. They will execute while others scroll. Detach from the noise, and you discover your deepest leverage, undivided focus. In a world that profits from your distraction, choosing to focus is the most radical act of wealth you can commit. It is where your true fortune begins, not just in money, but in mastery of the only thing you ever really own, your attention. If you want to become a millionaire by 2026, you must understand this simple but brutal truth. You will not rise to the level of your dreams. You will fall to the level of your daily disciplines. Your habits are your quiet builders or silent assassins. They do not shout. They do not announce themselves with fanfare. They work patiently, invisibly, whether you are aware of them or not. If I truly want to build wealth, I must build unshakable habits that make wealth not just possible, but inevitable. Most people want the grand moment, the big win, the sudden windfall that lifts them overnight. They chase dramatic gestures, new projects, big goals scribbled in fresh notebooks at the start of a year. But they ignore the humble, repetitive actions that shape every fortune ever made. The truth is, the millionaire version of you is hidden inside the mundane. It is built in your mornings, protected in your evenings, and repeated so consistently that it stops feeling heroic and starts feeling normal. If I want to become a millionaire, I would study my days with ruthless honesty. Where does my time leak away? Where does my money drip out unseen? What small daily indulgences cost me the compound interest of discipline? These are not just harmless comforts. They are the thieves of my future freedom. One lazy hour today robs me of 100 in the future. One impulsive purchase today erases the seeds of investments that could multiply quietly while I sleep. To build unshakable habits, I must first accept that discipline is not punishment. It is freedom in disguise. Most people hear the word habit and think of chains, restrictions, a life stripped of pleasure. But the truth is the opposite. Weak habits are chains. Strong habits are wings. They free you from the exhaustion of decision fatigue. They free you from temptation because your days are already claimed by higher priorities. Habit is more important than the outcome. Anyone can do the right thing once when motivation strikes. But the millionaire of 2026 will not be the one who did the right thing once. It will be the one who did the right thing daily, even when no one noticed, especially when no one noticed. I would begin small. Wake up earlier than I want to. Guard the first hour of my day like a sacred ritual. Feed my mind before I feed my distractions. Learn something valuable daily, even if it's just for 30 minutes. Do the hardest task first, when my mind is clear and untangled by the world's noise. Finish what I start. Close the day with reflection. Where did I win? Where did I slip? Where will I adjust tomorrow? Money itself is neutral, but habits carry its spirit. Good habits breed abundance because they build a mind that can handle responsibility and delay gratification. Bad habits leak your wealth because they feed your craving for quick fixes. If you cannot keep your promises to yourself, why should life keep its promises to you? There is no luck in this. There is only compounding. The habit compounds your effort. The compound effect multiplies your results. A single disciplined hour today becomes 2 disciplined hours next month, becomes 10 hours a week next year. These hours, stacked day after day, build skills no one can take from you. They build resilience that money alone can't buy. They build self-respect, the true currency behind every sustainable fortune. While others look for shortcuts, I would dig into repetition. I would automate my success so thoroughly that falling off track would feel unnatural. I would make my good habits so easy to start that excuses lose their grip. Small actions repeated daily turn into unstoppable momentum. Big actions done occasionally rust away under the weight of inconsistency. You do not get rich by trying to do extraordinary things once. You get rich by doing ordinary things extraordinarily well, over and over, until the ordinary becomes extraordinary. There is no glamour in this, at least not at first. The glamour comes later, when you stand quietly apart, debt-free, free to choose where you live, what you build, who you help, and who you become. I would remind myself daily that this life rewards the disciplined mind. Every time you repeat a habit, you are casting a vote for the person you wish to become. Miss enough votes, and you remain trapped in a cycle of starting over, hoping for a miracle. Cast enough votes, and you wake up one day realizing the miracle happened long ago, when you chose to build unshakable habits instead of fragile dreams. This is the real work. This is the silent contract you sign with your future. It does not scream for likes. It does not crave applause. But it delivers wealth so deep, no recession, no failure, no critic can steal it from you. Unshakable habits are the roots that hold up the tree. Without them, every storm will break you. With them, every storm will feed you. If I want to become a millionaire in 2026, I must become a student of pain. Not my own suffering alone, but the pain of others. Because money does not arrive out of thin air. It flows to those who solve problems that hurt. Behind every fortune, large or small, is an aching need that someone chose to address when others turned away. It might not be glamorous, it might not be easy, but it is real. And real money is born in real solutions. Most people recoil at pain. They pretend it doesn't exist, or they curse it when it appears in their own lives. But the mind that builds wealth sees pain as an opportunity disguised in discomfort. If I want to attract wealth, I must ask who is hurting and how can I ease that hurt? What frustrates people daily? What do they complain about? Where do they waste time, lose money, feel misunderstood, unseen, uncared for? Each answer is a crack in the wall where value can flow in. And when value flows in, money follows. This does not mean exploiting pain. It means healing it, easing it, removing the thorn that others have accepted as normal. It means becoming obsessed with service in its purest form, making life smoother, simpler, more beautiful, more efficient for someone else. That could mean creating a product that saves an hour every day. It could mean offering knowledge that prevents costly mistakes. It could mean building a community where people feel understood when the world makes them feel invisible. Solving problems is not always about grand inventions. Sometimes it is about noticing what others overlook. a small, stubborn frustration that people have accepted as just how it is, can become your goldmine. The broken process, the awkward service, the gap between what people want and what they actually get. If you can stand in that gap and bridge it, wealth is not a matter of if, but when. If I want to become a millionaire, I cannot afford to think like the average consumer. I must think like a producer of solutions. Consumers ask, what's in it for me? Producers ask, what's missing for them? The mindset shift is subtle but radical. It turns you from a passive participant in the economy to an architect of value within it. I would train myself to listen deeply, not just to words, but to what people avoid saying. What do they sigh about when they think no one's paying attention? What do they wish was easier? What problem do they grumble about every day but never expect to be fixed? These subtle complaints are treasure maps for the curious mind. And then comes the hard part, not just seeing the pain, but daring to address it. Most people stop here. They see the problem, but underestimate themselves. They assume someone smarter, richer, or more connected will solve it first. But often the gap remains because everyone else made the same excuse. So the wealth lies waiting for the one bold enough to step forward. I would remind myself that not every solution has to be perfect to be profitable. Many fortunes began with a simple version of an idea, refined over time by paying attention to what worked and what didn't. The willingness to begin badly and improve relentlessly is more valuable than the illusion of perfection that keeps so many frozen in place. Solving painful problems also means becoming comfortable with feedback. You cannot cling to your ego when your goal is to heal someone's frustration. The market will tell you the truth if you listen without pride. What do people love? What do they ignore? What do they pay for happily? And what do they resist? Each answer sharpens your blade, shapes your offer, makes your solution more irresistible. This is not charity. It is honest exchange. You give relief, clarity, convenience, joy, and in return you receive wealth. And the greater the pain you heal, the greater the wealth that flows to you. Think of the biggest companies in the world. Each one is built on removing daily headaches at scale. They deliver groceries faster, connect people globally, automate tasks, simplify chaos. Small solutions multiply across millions, become unstoppable rivers of income. I would remind myself daily that the world does not pay for wishes. It pays for solutions. The person who dreams of wealth but solves nothing remains broke. The person who shows up for others' problems consistently, creatively, humbly, this person is wealthy long before the money shows up in the account, because they own the most precious currency of all, trust. To become a millionaire by 2026, I would train my eyes to see pain, my heart to care about easing it, and my mind to design the bridge from struggle to relief. In doing so, I would not just build wealth, I would become necessary. And in a world overflowing with noise and distraction, to be necessary is to be irreplaceable. If I want to become a millionaire in 2026, I must not only earn money, I must learn to multiply and protect it. This is where so many people fail. They figure out how to bring money in, but they do not know how to keep it from slipping through their fingers. They become skilled at earning, but careless at managing. And so the cycle repeats. They work harder and harder just to stay afloat. Wealth does not stay with those who treat it like a guest. It stays with those who treat it like a garden, tended, protected, and allowed to grow. Multiplying income is not about gambling on big wins or chasing every new trend that promises overnight riches. It is about understanding the flow of money and placing yourself in positions where your effort is not trapped in a single source. If one stream dries up, another keeps flowing. This is the difference between the anxious earner and the calm investor. One works to survive, the other works to build a system that survives without him. To multiply my income, I would first invest in myself. It sounds cliché, but it remains true. Your mind is the greatest asset you will ever own. Skills that solve problems, knowledge that shortcuts years of mistakes, insights that reveal hidden value. These are seeds that grow trees of income. They cost you time and attention now, but pay you back in freedom later. Every book read, every mentor sought, every hour spent mastering your craft instead of numbing your mind. These are silent investments with compound returns. I would look for ways to turn earned income into active and passive streams. Most people earn once and spend twice. They trade time for money, then trade that money for things that lose value the moment they buy them. A millionaire mind trades time for money once and looks for ways to make that money earn more while they sleep. This could be a side business, digital products, investment in real assets, anything that detaches your earning power from your hours worked. But multiplication alone is not enough. Protection is just as vital. Money is neutral, but people are not. The world is full of ways to tempt you into spending before you've secured your future. I would study my spending habits with ruthless honesty. Where does my money leak? Do I buy to impress people I don't even like? Do I numb my boredom with purchases that add no value? Each careless dollar is a seed that could have grown but was thrown away for momentary comfort. To protect wealth is to protect the mind behind it. The same discipline that builds habits and silences noise must guard your spending. I would not starve myself of joy. I would starve waste. I would ask before every purchase, does this feed my future or steal from it? Small leaks sink great ships. A coffee here, a subscription there, a habit of impulsive upgrades, each one innocent alone, but together they kill the fortune before it breathes. I would also protect my wealth from myself, my emotions, my impulses, my moments of weakness. When I feel the urge to buy something big, I would wait. If I still crave it after a week, maybe I need it. Most times the desire fades because it was never real, it was just my mind seeking a quick hit of relief. Learning to sit with that discomfort is the armor that guards your money from your worst instinct. Another form of protection is learning the simple truths about money that schools rarely teach. Understanding taxes, debt, interest, inflation. These invisible forces that drain wealth from the careless. I would not fear them. I would study them until they serve me instead of stealing from me. Many people earn well but lose half their wealth to bad debt and poor planning. Knowledge is the cheapest insurance you will ever buy. And finally, I would surround myself with people who respect money. The wrong environment can destroy wealth faster than any bad investment. Friends who celebrate your discipline, who value growth over gossip, who encourage you to think bigger instead of spending bigger. These people become your quiet shield. In their company, good choices become normal, not strange. To multiply and protect wealth is not about paranoia. It is about stewardship. It is the calm understanding that you are the guardian of your own freedom. Money is not the goal. Freedom is. Money buys time, options, the ability to walk away from what does not serve you, but only if you respect it enough to keep it alive. If I want to become a millionaire in 2026, I would remember this always. Making money is the start. Keeping it is the art. Growing it is the mastery. And mastery belongs not to those who chase shiny tricks, but to those who patiently build a fortress around their efforts, one wise decision at a time. If I want to become a millionaire in 2026, I must stretch my vision far beyond that date. I must learn to think decades ahead while acting fiercely in the present moment. This is the paradox that separates those who taste wealth for a season from those who build fortunes that last. Most people live trapped in a tiny window of time. Today's cravings, tomorrow's worries, next week's distractions. They measure their life in paychecks and bills instead of in seeds planted for harvests that may not come for years, but when they do, they arrive like an orchard in full bloom. Thinking decades ahead does not mean living in a fantasy of someday. It means planting roots now that will hold your dreams steady through storms you cannot yet see. It means resisting the constant lure of urgency. This need to have it all immediately, to show results overnight, to impress people this week. True wealth is too patient for that. It respects time. It multiplies through tomorrows. For a fleeting rush now, if I truly want to be a millionaire by 2026, I must ask myself, what choices today will still reward me in 2036? Which investments of money, of energy, of attention will feed my future self instead of starving them? This mindset creates a discipline so strong that temporary temptations lose their hold. The new phone, the impulsive luxury, the short-lived thrill, they fade in power when you see them for what they really are. Trades you make with your future freedom. Thinking decades ahead demands humility. It forces you to admit that you do not know what storms will come, which trends will rise, which doors will close. But the long-view mind is not paralyzed by uncertainty. It works with it. It builds layers of security, multiple streams of income, skills that do not expire when the market shifts. It plants so many seeds that if some fail, others flourish. This is how real wealth survives chaos, through diversity of thought and action. Most people overestimate what they can do in a day and underestimate what they can build in 10 years. The mind that commits to the long game moves differently. It shows up daily for habits that seem small but compound with relentless force. One book read this month may not change your life, but one book read every week for 10 years turns you into a human library of insights. One client served well today may not make you rich, but 1,000 clients served with the same care over a decade builds an empire of trust and reputation that money naturally flows to. To think decades ahead is also to free yourself from envy. When you play the long game, you stop competing with those who win small prizes quickly. You understand that their sprint is not your marathon. You celebrate their wins, but you stay rooted in your own lane. You become immune to the temptation to compare your chapter 2 to someone else's chapter 20, because you know your own chapter 20 is coming. Quietly, surely, if you do not abandon your plan when the path gets lonely. The person who thinks decades ahead also learns to love boredom. They understand that real growth often looks like nothing is happening. The seed sits in darkness long before the first sprout breaks through. In those silent months or years, you may feel unseen. Others may wonder if you're wasting your time, but you will know. Patience is your secret advantage in a world addicted to instant results. When everyone else jumps from one shiny thing to the next, you stay planted in your craft, your vision, your plan. This mindset also shapes how you handle setbacks. If you think only in days, a bad day destroys you. If you think in decades, a bad year humbles you but does not define you. You do not panic, you adjust. You do not quit, you adapt. You see failure not as a dead end, but as a teacher giving you lessons that will pay you tenfold if you're willing to learn. Thinking decades ahead even changes who you spend time with. You begin to gravitate toward people who value legacy over vanity, purpose over performance. Their conversations are not about trends, but about principles. Not about what is popular now, but about what will endure when today's noise has faded. If I want to become a millionaire in 2026, my eyes must be fixed on 2026, but my mind must be anchored far beyond it. I must act with urgency today, but plan with the patience of a farmer tending an orchard that may not bear its sweetest fruit until long after this season. That is the paradox. Do not confuse slowness with laziness or quickness with progress. True wealth is patient action, done daily, guided by a vision that stretches well beyond what the world demands of you now. When you think decades ahead, you stop trying to predict the future and start preparing for it. And when you prepare deeply enough, you discover that the future you feared becomes the present you have already mastered, one quiet, deliberate day at a time. If I want to become a millionaire in 2026, I must outgrow the version of myself who settles for less. This is not just motivational fluff. It is the raw truth that sits behind every lasting fortune and every life that breaks free from mediocrity. The money you desire, the freedom you crave, the opportunities you wish would appear, they do not belong to the person you are today. They belong to the version of you that you must become. The one who refuses to shrink, to fit inside old excuses, old habits, old patterns of self-sabotage. Most people underestimate just how deeply their identity locks them in place. They think it is about knowledge alone, reading the right books, listening to the right strategies. But knowledge without transformation is dead weight. It sits in your mind, gathering dust, while your actions stay exactly the same. If you want to build wealth that lasts, you must build a new container strong enough to hold it, and that container is you. I would begin by confronting the quiet ways I keep myself small. Where do I negotiate with my potential? Where do I tolerate situations, people, habits that drain my energy but feel familiar enough to keep me numb? Settling is never dramatic. It is the soft daily agreement you make to stay comfortable instead of becoming capable. It is the job you hate but justify, the relationship you outgrew but tolerate, the wasted hours you excuse with "I deserve to relax," when deep down you know you're avoiding your own greatness. Outgrowing the self who settles requires honesty that most people run from. It means seeing your part in your own stagnation, how you cling to the identity of someone who tries but never fully commits, someone who starts with enthusiasm but abandons the path when discomfort appears, someone who blames circumstances instead of sharpening their mind to cut through them. If I want to reach that million by 2026, I must become intolerant of the version of me who waits for motivation to strike. Discipline must become my daily companion, not forced, but chosen. I must build the inner strength to do what I said I would do, especially when no one is watching, because it is easy to show up when you're inspired. But wealth is built in the quiet hours, when you show up anyway. I would also learn to detach my identity from my past failures. The self that settles lives in yesterday's wounds. It says, "I failed before, so I must be a failure." But failure is not who you are. It is feedback. It is a mirror reflecting what needs to be rebuilt. If you cling to it as proof of your limits, You sentence yourself to repeat the same story. But if you see it as raw material, you can shape it into wisdom. Every self-made millionaire has stood knee-deep in mistakes. The difference is, they did not pitch a tent there, they grew out of it. Outgrowing the self who settles also means raising your standards radically. You stop asking, what can I get away with? And start asking, what does the best version of me require? How does that person spend their mornings? Who do they allow into their mind and their circle? What do they say yes to? More importantly, what do they say no to? Ruthlessly, unapologetically, because every yes to what you have outgrown is a no to what you could become. This transformation is not loud. It is not about posting motivational slogans or telling everyone you're changing. It is quiet, private. It happens in your tiny choices. The moment you get up instead of hitting snooze, the moment you open the book instead of scrolling, the moment you say no to the familiar comfort that kept you small. These moments stack. And in that stacking, the old self suffocates and the new self breathes life into a reality where wealth is not just a goal, it is a byproduct of who you have become. People say money changes you, but the truth is, changing you changes your money. The millionaire in 2026 is simply you, fully unfolded, bigger, braver, clearer. That version of you is not stressed about the million because they know they have earned it in advance with every hard choice they made when no one clapped for them. To outgrow the self who settles is to accept discomfort as your teacher. It is to invite challenge, not run from it. It is to break your own patterns before life breaks them for you. This is why so few do it, because it is painful to outgrow your excuses. But the pain of growth is brief. The pain of settling lasts a lifetime. If I want to become a millionaire in 2026, I cannot carry my old self with me. I must thank that version of me for surviving this far, then bury them with compassion and step forward without apology. Because the new life, the new wealth, the new freedom, they all belong to the person I am willing to become when I finally decide I will never settle again. If I want to become a millionaire in 2026, I must understand a truth that sounds almost contradictory at first. I must transcend the goal itself. I must realize that the million is not the real prize. It is merely a milestone, a number on a screen that reflects something much deeper, a shift in who I am, how I see the world, and what I'm capable of doing with my time on this earth. The true reward is the transformation I undergo to become the kind of person for whom wealth is not luck, but a natural result of how I think, act, and live. So many people chase the million like it is a finish line. They tell themselves, once I reach it, then I'll be secure, then I'll be free, then I'll feel worthy. But the million itself is just paper or digits that can be gained and lost in an instant. Look around. Lottery winners who return to poverty, athletes who squander fortunes, sudden success stories who crumble under the weight of money they were never prepared to hold. Why? Because they chased the million, but they never became someone who understood how to sustain it, multiply it, and most importantly, outgrow it. If I want to build real wealth, I must become someone for whom money is not a source of stress or ego, but a tool, an amplifier of the life I choose to live. This means the real work is not on the dollar figure, but on my character, my discipline, my values. It means asking myself, am I becoming a person who can handle abundance without being consumed by it? Because if I do not grow my mindset alongside my income, The wealth will control me instead of the way around. The million is a mirror. It reflects the clarity of your thoughts, the discipline of your habits, the courage of your choices, and the depth of your purpose. So if I wish to transcend this goal, I must dig deeper than the surface-level dream of getting rich. I must ask myself, why do I want it? Who do I become when I have it? What do I create with it? Who do I help? Money by itself is empty, but money infused with purpose becomes power. To transcend the goal is also to loosen my grip on the timeline. Of course, I set a date. 2026 gives shape and urgency to my actions. But I do not cling so tightly that any setback shatters me. I do not become desperate if the path takes an unexpected turn. The moment I become obsessed with the number alone, fear and scarcity creep in. I panic, I chase bad deals, I compromise my integrity just to make it. That is how people ruin their future in the name of reaching it faster. I would remind myself daily that the million is not the peak. It is a stepping stone. Beyond it are bigger challenges, deeper lessons, greater opportunities to expand who I am and what I can contribute. If I think the million will complete me, I have misunderstood the whole point. True wealth is not a number. It is the freedom to think clearly, choose boldly, live fully, and lift others along the way. I must also transcend the noise around the goal. The world glorifies millionaires, but rarely studies what truly makes them different. It is not luck alone. It is not a single brilliant idea alone. It is an inner engine, resilience, creativity, self-control, an obsession with value, an ability to rise again and again, no matter how many times they fail. When I grasp this, I stop worshipping the million as an idol and start honoring the daily choices that make it inevitable. And when the million comes, and it will if I do the inner and outer work with relentless devotion, I will not cling to it like a drowning man clings to driftwood. I will use it, direct it, deploy it to create more freedom, more security for my loved ones, more impact for the world beyond my own comfort. I will become someone who can give it away wisely and earn it back without fear. That is true wealth, when you know you are the source, not the sum in the bank. If I want to become a millionaire in 2026, I must aim higher than the million itself. I must aim to master myself, to build a mind so strong and habits so grounded that money feels welcome and safe in my hands. I must build a purpose bigger than my own comfort, something that gives this number a heartbeat, a reason to grow, and a reason to serve. When I do this, the million becomes light work. It becomes the natural echo of a life that no longer needs to measure its worth by numbers, but measures it by the value it creates, the lives it touches, and the freedom it protects. In transcending the goal, I find what I was seeking all along. Not just wealth, but the kind of self-respect and inner power that no loss, no recession, no critic can ever take away. If you have truly listened, then you understand by now that becoming a millionaire by 2026 is not about chasing a number, but about becoming someone who makes that number irrelevant. Someone so deeply transformed that wealth flows as a natural consequence of who they have become. It is not the million that changes you. It is you who must change so completely that the million is simply drawn to the discipline, the focus, the courage, and the service you embody daily. This path demands that you redefine what wealth is, not as money hoarded, but as value created, time protected, and freedom multiplied. It demands you detach from the noise that drowns your mind in comparison and distraction, so you can hear your own vision clearly enough to act on it. It requires you to build habits so solid that you cannot help but grow, habits that do not crumble when motivation fades, because they are rooted in who you now choose to be. It demands that you look unflinchingly at where pain exists in the world, then stand in that gap with solutions that make life better for others. It insists that you master the art of multiplying and protecting what you earn so that your labor becomes a servant to your future instead of a sacrifice to your past. And through it all, you must stretch your vision far beyond the deadline of 2026, planting seeds that will still bear fruit decades from now, long after that milestone is crossed. Most importantly, this journey requires you to break up with the version of yourself that settles for less than you know you're capable of, less than you're willing to give, less than the life you were born to live. You must outgrow the excuses, the stories, the shallow distractions that keep you chained to the ordinary. And when you do all this, you must let the goal itself fall away like training wheels from a bike. You now ride freely. The million is not the point. It never was. The point is the person you become in pursuit of it. A person who thinks deeply, acts bravely, lives purposefully, and creates so much value that money simply cannot help but arrive. 2026 is not your finish line. It is just the proof that you chose to master your mind, your habits, your time, your vision. It is the proof that you stopped waiting to be rescued by luck and instead became your own guarantee. Become the kind of person for whom wealth is not a wish but a side effect of how you show up for yourself, for others, for the problems you solve, and the value you bring. Do this, and the million will come. Quietly, inevitably, and with it, a life that no price tag could ever truly measure.